Proud alien queen falls in love with shy human guard, but what happened next astonished everyone. The diplomatic station hung in space like a silver coin caught between two great powers. Inside its corridors, the fate of millions waited to be decided. Commander Queen Ara of the Empire stepped off her royal transport with 12 guards dressed in black armor that caught the light like obsidian mirrors. Her skin was a deep violet, and her eyes held the cold intelligence of a leader who had conquered 17 star systems before reaching her present age of 300 cycles. The humans at the station had prepared everything. They knew the queen demanded perfection. Not a single decoration was out of place. Not a single guard stood with their uniform wrinkled. The humans had learned that small details mattered greatly to alien visitors, especially to someone like Ara who controlled the fate of entire worlds. She walked down the main corridor with her head high and her spine straight. Every being she passed bowed or stepped aside. This was the natural order of things. This was how the universe worked. The strong led and the weak followed. They had learned this truth across 3,000 years of galactic expansion. Then she noticed the guard. He stood at the intersection of two corridors, wearing the blue uniform of station security. Unlike the others who watched her with fear or respect or curiosity, this guard simply stood in place. He did not bow. He did not step aside. He gave a small nod when she passed, the way one professional might acknowledge another. Then he returned his attention to his work, watching the corridor as if the most powerful being in the galaxy had not just walked past him. Ara stopped. Her guard stopped with her. The entire station seemed to hold its breath. No one ignored the queen. No one treated her as an equal when she was so clearly superior. Yet this human had done exactly that. He had acknowledged her presence but shown no fear, no excessive respect, no desperate attempt to impress her. "Who is that?" she asked her lead guard, a name who had served her for 50 years. His large eyes blinked twice. "I do not know, Queen. A station guard, certainly, nothing more." "Find out everything about him," Ara commanded. "I want to know his name, his rank, his history, his family status, everything." As bowed and moved to gather information, Ara continued down the corridor, but her mind was not on the peace negotiations anymore. It was on the quiet human with the steady eyes who had not flinched in her presence. The negotiations began in the great chamber. The human leaders sat on one side of the table. Ara and her council sat on the other. They spoke about trade agreements, about borders, about weapons, treaties, and cultural exchanges. The human commander, a woman named, spoke well. She was intelligent and strategic, but Ara's thoughts kept drifting. By the time the first session ended, had returned with information. "His name is Daniel," the guard reported quietly. "Daniel Mitchell. He has served as station security for 4 years. He has perfect record of service. He comes from the continent called North America. His family works in agriculture. He has no criminal record, no romantic entanglements, no significant debts." "Why is he so unremarkable?" Ara demanded. "He simply performs his duties well, Queen. The station commander has recommended him for promotion twice, but he has refused both times. He seems content with his current position." That night, Ara could not sleep properly. Her mind was designed to process complex problems and find solutions, but this simple human presented something her intellect could not easily categorize. Why would someone refuse promotion? Why would someone stand in the presence of a queen with perfect calm? Why would someone so ordinary catch her attention so completely? The next morning, she made an excuse to walk the station corridors. She told her council she needed to understand human architecture better. She needed to see how they designed security systems. Any reason to pass by that intersection again. Daniel was there in his blue uniform, watching his corridor with the same calm attention he had shown before. When she approached, he gave the same small nod. She stopped this time. "You," she said, "why did you not bow to me yesterday?" Daniel did not seem frightened by the direct question. He considered it seriously. Because I show respect through doing my job well, not through bowing. I am a guard, and my duty is to protect this station. That is how I show respect to everyone, including you." His voice was quiet, not weak but quiet, controlled, a voice that suggested he had thought about his words before speaking them. "What is your name?" she asked, though she already knew. "Daniel Mitchell, Queen. I serve station security." "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," he said simply. "You are the queen of the, you command a great fleet. You are here to negotiate peace between our peoples. And that does not impress you." Daniel's eyes met hers directly. "It does, but being impressed is not the same as being afraid. I respect what you have accomplished. I also respect my own responsibility. Both things can be true." Aura had conquered worlds. She had faced alien warriors twice her size. She had made decisions that affected billions of lives. But she had never felt her mind go quiet like this, never felt something stir inside her that she could not name. "I will speak with you again," she said. "I am here every day, Queen," Daniel replied. "I am always where I should be." As Aura walked back to the negotiation chamber, she realized that for the first time in her long life, she was uncertain about something. She did not understand this human. She did not understand why his calm face and steady voice had broken through the armor of her power and control. That night, she asked to increase his research. She wanted to know everything about Daniel Mitchell, not because he was a threat, but because something about him made her feel alive in a way she had not felt in centuries. The queen of the, who had always known exactly what she wanted, had just discovered something completely new. She had discovered the power of uncertainty, and it terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. The second day of negotiations brought new questions and old complications. Aura sat in the great chamber with and her team, discussing trade routes and resource sharing. But her eyes kept shifting to the room's corner, where a monitor showed the station corridors. She could see Daniel standing at his post, calm and focused on his work. Her advisors noticed her distraction, exchanged a look with another council member named. They said nothing, but their meaning was clear. The queen was not concentrating fully on the negotiations. This was unusual and concerning. When the session broke for rest, Aura made a decision. She stood and announced she wanted to walk the station alone. Her guards objected immediately. This was not safe. She was exposed, but Aura was queen. She did not ask permission. She commanded it. She walked toward Daniel's post, no guards following her. The station crew watched her go with surprised eyes. No one had expected the queen to walk alone through human corridors. Daniel saw her coming and straightened slightly. "Queen Aura," he said, his voice carrying the same quiet calm as before. "Walk with me," she said. "Tell me about your world." Daniel hesitated. This was not his job. This was not protocol. But something in the queen's tone made it clear this was not a request. He looked toward his supervisor, who gave an uncertain nod, and then he walked beside the queen. They moved through the station's corridors. Aura asked questions, and Daniel answered them. He told her about Earth. He described the oceans that covered most of the planet. He spoke about mountains that reached toward the sky and forests that stretched across entire continents. He talked about rain and wind and the way humans needed sunlight to feel alive. "We are soft compared to your people," Daniel said. "Humans cannot survive in space without protection. We cannot run for days without rest. We are not strong-like." "Yet you stand before me without fear," Aura said. "Fear serves a purpose," Daniel replied. "It keeps us alive, but I have nothing to fear from you." Aura stopped walking. "How can you be certain of that?" Daniel turned to face her. "Because I can see something in your eyes, Queen. Strength, yes. Intelligence, definitely, but also something else. A question. You are asking me something, but I do not know what it is." For the first time in 300 years, Aura felt uncertain how to respond. She decided to be honest. "I do not know what to ask," she admitted. You are different from what I expected humans to be." "And you are different from what I expected," Daniel said. "I thought you would be cold, distant, but you are curious. You want to understand." They continued walking. Daniel showed her the observation deck where humans watched the stars. He explained the names of stars as humans knew them. He pointed out Earth's sun and told her stories of his childhood running through fields under that light. "I want to understand your world too," Ara said. "But my people, they demand I focus on power and conquest. They have no time for understanding." "Then maybe you have different values than your people," Daniel suggested carefully. "That is dangerous," Ara warned. "A leader who does not share her people's values is a leader in trouble." But even as she said it, she knew it was true. She had been questioning ways for years. She had been wondering if expansion was truly the only path. Daniel's simple presence made these questions impossible to ignore. When they returned to the corridor was waiting. His expression was dark. "Queen, you cannot go walking alone with a human guard. The council is discussing this. They are angry." "Let them discuss," Ara said coldly. "They serve me, I do not serve them." But she knew what was telling her. Her advisors were worried, and when advisors worried, it meant trouble was coming. The third day, Ara found reasons to pass by Daniel's post multiple times. Each time, they shared brief conversations. She asked about his family. He told her about his father who grew crops, his mother who taught children, his sister who worked in medicine. "They are ordinary people," Daniel said, "but to me they are everything. They are why I wanted to help bring peace, so they can live safely." Ara realized she had never had such motivation. Her family was royalty. They had raised her to seek power, not to protect them. They expected her to expand the empire, not to question it. That evening came to her private quarters. This was unusual. Council members did not visit the Queen privately unless something was very wrong. "Queen, we must speak about your behavior," said carefully. "You are spending too much time with the human guard. The council interprets this as weakness. They fear you are becoming too attached to human values." "What I do in my free time is not the council's concern," Ara replied. "It is the council's concern when it affects your judgment," said firmly. "There is talk of removing you if you continue this behavior." Ara stood. "Let them talk, they forget who holds the power." But as left, Ara felt something she had never felt before. Doubt. Real, genuine doubt about her position. For 300 years she had been certain of her path. Now, because of a quiet human guard, everything was becoming complicated. The negotiations continued, but they moved faster now. Ara made decisions with unusual speed. Some of them favored humanity more than they had expected. When her council questioned her choices, she simply said they were logical. But everyone knew the truth. The Queen was changing, and no one could predict what she would do next. Daniel felt it too. He knew his Queen was struggling with something larger than herself. He could see it in her eyes when she looked at him. But he also knew he could not help her with this burden. She had to find her own answers. On the fourth day, Ara made a choice. She invited Daniel to a private meeting. No guards, no witnesses. Just the two of them in a quiet room overlooking the stars. It was time to stop pretending this was about curiosity. It was time to speak about what was really happening between them. The observation deck was empty except for the two of them. Stars filled the transparent walls, creating a view that made the rest of the universe feel small and quiet. Ara stood with her hands behind her back, her violet skin catching the starlight in strange ways. Daniel entered and closed the door. He had not asked questions about why he was summoned. He had simply come, trusting that the Queen had a reason. "Do you know what my people think of humans?" Ara asked without turning around. "I imagine they do not think much of us," Daniel said honestly. "We are weak compared to we are young as a species. We have not conquered anything." Ara turned to face him. "My people believe that strength is everything. They measure worth by power, by ability to survive harsh conditions, by conquest. By those measures, humans should be insignificant to us. And what do you believe? Daniel asked. I do not know anymore, Ara admitted. That is why I asked you here. I need to understand something, and I cannot find the answer in books or reports. I can only find it by speaking with you. They walked along the observation deck, looking out at the infinite stars. Ara began talking about her childhood. She had been raised to rule, to dominate, to expand the territory. She had been taught that compassion was weakness and mercy was a mistake. When I first conquered a world, she said quietly, I was young. I followed protocol. Any species that resisted was destroyed. Any culture that seemed dangerous was erased. I thought this was right. I thought this was the only way. And now, Daniel asked. Now I wonder what we destroyed, Ara said. Civilizations that might have had something to teach us. Music, art, philosophy. Ways of thinking that could have made us better. But we were too proud to learn from those we conquered. Daniel stood close to her but not touching. Humans have made the same mistakes. We have conquered and destroyed in our own history. We have killed in the name of expansion and progress. But we have also learned something. We have learned that the cost of such actions is too high. What cost? Ara asked. Loss of our own humanity, Daniel said simply. When you destroy everything that is different, you lose something inside yourself. You become less than you were. Ara felt something shift inside her. This simple human, with his quiet voice and steady eyes, was saying things that matched thoughts she had hidden even from herself. I have made many enemies, she said. Other species fear me. Even my own council fears me. But I have been alone, Daniel, truly alone. Do you understand what that means? I think I do, Daniel said. You have power but no one to share it with. You have authority but no one who truly knows you. They stood in silence, watching the stars. Then Ara did something she had never done before. She reached out and took Daniel's hand. Her hands were larger than his human ones, but her grip was gentle. I have been queen for 150 years, she said. I have made countless decisions, but I have never made a choice purely for myself. Every choice has been for the empire, for my people, for the advancement of power. I do not know how to choose for myself. You can start now, Daniel said. Choose something because it makes you happy, not because it serves a purpose. If I choose to spend time with you, Ara said carefully, if I allow myself to develop feelings for you, it will cause problems. My people will see it as weakness. Humans will see it as a political move. No one will believe it is genuine. Then let them not believe, Daniel said. The truth does not depend on what others think it is. The truth is what we know in our hearts. Ara closed her eyes. She was thinking of protocols and traditions. She was thinking of what her people expected. She was thinking of the way which demanded she keep her emotions locked away, separate from her duties. But she was also thinking of something else. She was thinking of how empty her life had been, how she had commanded billions but had never truly connected with anyone, how power meant nothing if you had no one to share it with. I am afraid, she admitted. I have commanded armies and conquered worlds, but I am afraid of this, of what could happen if I let myself care about you. Fear is part of being alive, Daniel said, but fear should not control us. Ara opened her eyes and looked at him directly. In culture, a queen does not take partners. She remains separate. She remains focused only on duty, but I wonder if that makes us strong or if it makes us broken. Maybe it makes you human, Daniel said. Maybe it makes you like us, capable of love and connection. I am not human, Ara said, but perhaps I could learn to be. They stood together as the station moved through space. Neither of them moved to leave. Neither of them spoke further. The silence between them was not empty or uncomfortable. It was full of understanding and shared recognition of something neither had expected to find. Later, when Daniel left the observation deck, Ara remained standing alone. She made a decision that would change everything. She would not hide this connection. She would not pretend it did not exist. She would be honest about what was happening, even if it cost her everything. The next morning, Ara called her council together. Every advisor on the station sat in the council chamber, waiting to hear from their queen. "I have decided," Ara said, her voice carrying the tone of absolute command. "The peace treaty will be signed. More than that, there will be a union treaty between thee and humanity. We will learn from each other, not conquer each other. And I have chosen to personally represent this commitment by joining my life with Daniel Mitchell's." The council erupted. Voices overlapped in shock and anger, but Ara raised her hand and silence fell immediately. "I am telling you, not asking you," she said coldly. "This is what will be done. We begin a new age, an age where strength is measured not only by power but by wisdom, an age where we value what is different, not destroy it. Any who cannot accept this can leave the service." The council members bowed, though their faces showed their disagreement. But they had no choice. The Queen had spoken, and when the Queen spoke, the universe listened. Word spread through the station and across the galaxy in hours. The Queen had announced her intention to bond with a human. The reaction was explosive. The High Council sent urgent messages. They demanded Ara return to the home world immediately. They said she had become unstable. They said her judgment could no longer be trusted. Some members suggested removing her from power and installing a new queen who would respect traditions. At the same time, extremist humans responded with anger. They saw the queen as a conqueror and a threat. They organized protests at the station. Some called for Daniel to be arrested, claiming he had been manipulated or threatened. Others demanded that Ara leave human space forever. Daniel was taken into custody for questioning. The station commander tried to be respectful, but she had orders to investigate whether he had compromised security or been threatened. Daniel sat in an interrogation room with two security officers. "We need to understand what is happening," said carefully. "A queen does not decide to bond with a guard without reason. Either you have manipulated her or she has lost her grip on reality. Which is it?" "Neither," Daniel said calmly. "She chose this. I did not ask for it, I did not want it, but she is a person, not just a queen. She has the right to choose how she lives her life." "She commands a galactic empire," said. "She does not have the right to destroy that empire based on personal feelings." "Then perhaps the empire should not be run the way it is," Daniel replied. "Perhaps a leader who cares about connection and peace is better than one who only thinks about conquest." Leaned back in her chair, she could see he was telling the truth, but the truth did not solve her problem. The truth made everything more complicated. Word reached Ara about Daniel's detention. She responded immediately. She sent a message to the station commander. The message was clear and dangerous. Release Daniel within 1 hour, or she would withdraw from all peace negotiations and order her fleet to leave the station's vicinity. "If anything happens to him," the message said, "I will consider it an act of war. I will return to space with this treaty unsigned, and every chance I have to support human independence will become a chance to support your enemies instead." The threat was real, and everyone knew it. Had to choose between her government's desires and the survival of both species' peace efforts. She ordered Daniel released immediately. But the situation was far from resolved. Extremist groups on both sides were now taking action. A group of rebels, loyal to the old High Council, sent assassins to the station. Their target was Daniel. If they killed him, they reasoned, Ara would return home in grief and anger and the old ways could be restored. At the same time, human extremists plotted to capture Ara and use her as leverage against what they saw as a traitorous queen. They wanted to make her a prisoner, a symbol of how humanity would not be dominated by alien powers. When Daniel was released from detention, Ara immediately came to see him. They met in a private room, and for a moment, they simply held each other. But they both knew the danger was real. "We have to leave," Daniel said. "Both of us. We have to go somewhere safe." "I will not run," Aura said. "I am queen. I do not hide from my problems." "If you stay here, they will kill us both," Daniel warned. "Your own people are sending assassins. My own people are plotting to capture you. This is not a situation where courage solves anything." Aura's eyes flashed with anger and frustration. "Then what do you suggest? That I abandon my throne? That I become a refugee with you?" "Yes," Daniel said simply. "That is exactly what I suggest." Before Aura could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The rebels had made their move. They had activated a bomb in the station's main reactor. The explosion would destroy the station and kill everyone aboard, but the rebels believed it would also eliminate the evidence of Aura's betrayal. Security teams rushed to evacuate the station. Aura grabbed Daniel and pulled him toward the escape pods, but as they ran, they encountered a group of rebels blocking their path. The leader, a named who had served under Aura for 50 years, stepped forward. "This is mercy, Queen," said coldly. "This is mercy because I once respected you. I am giving you a choice. Leave the human and return to your duty or die here with him." Aura stood between Daniel and she drew herself up to her full height. "I will do neither," she said. "Daniel is my choice. My future is with him. If that means I must fight my own people, then that is what I will do." She moved so fast that human eyes could barely follow. Her strength was far greater than's, and she had been trained to fight since birth. In seconds, was on the ground, bleeding, unable to fight further. "Go," Aura commanded the other rebels. "Tell the High Council that their queen is not bound by their traditions anymore. Tell them a new age is beginning." They ran to the escape pods as the station shook around them. The reactor was failing. Everyone who had not already escaped would die. Aura and Daniel reached a pod just as the main explosion hit. They launched into space as the station's walls came down behind them. The pod was small and filled with the emergency supplies meant for 2 people. As they floated in space waiting for rescue, Aura held Daniel close. "I just destroyed everything I built," she said quietly. "The station is gone. My position is compromised. My people will call me a traitor." "But you are alive," Daniel said. "We are both alive, and we chose this together." High above them, both the fleet and human defense ships were moving toward the disaster. This moment would define the future. Either the 2 species would come together to rescue the survivors, or they would use the crisis as an opportunity to attack each other. Aura and Daniel waited in their small pod, uncertain whether rescue would come, but they waited together, and sometimes that was enough. Both fleets arrived at the disaster site simultaneously. For a moment, everything was still. The ships and the human ships faced each other across the wreckage of the station. Either they would work together to rescue survivors, or this moment would become the start of a war that would destroy both civilizations. Then the human commander ordered his ships to rescue operations. Without hesitation, the ships did the same. Daniel and Aura watched from their small pod as rescue teams from both species worked side by side, pulling survivors from the debris. What could have become a military conflict became an act of cooperation. When their pod was retrieved by a human rescue ship, the station commander was there to greet them. She looked at Aura with a mixture of anger, respect, and recognition. "Your Majesty," said formally, "we need to understand what has happened. The High Council is demanding your return. They are threatening military action if you do not comply. At the same time, there are humans who want you executed for causing this crisis." "And what do you want?" Aura asked. Took a long moment before answering. "I want to know if you meant what you said. I want to know if this commitment to peace is real or if it was just words." Aura stepped forward. She was no longer wearing her royal armor. She was dressed in the simple clothes they had given her, a human getting into a human ship. "It is real," she said. It is more real than anything I have ever known. I am prepared to prove it." She turned and addressed everyone in the rescue ship. Humans and both listened. "I am going to speak to both my people and yours," Ara announced. "I am going to tell them the truth. I am going to tell them that I have made a choice that challenges everything my culture teaches. I am going to tell them that I have learned something the Empire forgot long ago. We are not stronger when we are alone. We are stronger when we learn from others. We are stronger when we choose connection over conquest." Within hours, Ara was broadcasting across all communication channels. Her message reached space and human settlements simultaneously. Every being in both civilizations heard her words. "I was born into power," she said, her voice steady and clear. "I was raised to believe that strength meant dominance. I was taught that other species were either inferior or threats. I was wrong." The High Council watched in shock. This was not the response they had expected from their queen. This was not what they had prepared for. Ara continued, "I have been measuring strength by the wrong standards. A being who can conquer a world might be physically powerful, but a being who can choose mercy over revenge, who can choose peace over war, who can choose to learn from those who are different, that being is truly strong. That being has strength that no weapon can match." In cities, her words created division. Some agreed with her, others were outraged. But her message reached a population that had grown tired of endless expansion and endless war. "I am stepping down as queen," Ara said. "I am choosing a different path. I am choosing to work for peace between our species, not as a ruler commanding others, but as an equal working alongside my human partner, Daniel Mitchell, and anyone else who believes in this goal." The announcement shocked everyone. A queen did not resign. A queen did not step down. A queen did not choose personal happiness over duty to her empire. Yet Ara had done exactly that. "I cannot force you to accept this," she said in conclusion. "But I can show you that it is possible. I can show you that two species thought to be enemies can become something better. We can become partners. We can become friends. We can become something the universe has never seen before. And it starts with me choosing love over power. It starts with me being willing to lose everything for the sake of something greater." The broadcast ended. For hours there was silence across both civilizations. Then the responses came. From some, anger and calls for her arrest as a traitor. From others, agreement and support for her vision. From humans, the response was overwhelming. Humans had never expected an alien queen to give up power for peace. The gesture touched something deep in the human heart, something about the possibility of understanding even across the greatest differences. The High Council met in emergency session. They discussed whether to remove Ara's name from the records, whether to declare her a traitor, whether to send forces to capture her. But they also received communications from Younger who supported what their queen had done. For the first time in history, there was genuine debate about the Empire's direction. After 3 days of internal conflict, a new agreement was reached. Ara could not be removed from power through normal means. She was still queen by the laws of succession, but she could resign, which she had done. A new queen would be chosen from her council, and the Empire would allow her to work as an ambassador of peace instead of a ruler of conquest. Daniel and Ara stood together at the negotiation table, not as queen and guard, but as partners. They signed a new treaty with human leaders. It was not a treaty of conquest or trade alone. It was a treaty of genuine cooperation. Humans and would share technology, knowledge, and culture. They would explore space together. They would defend each other if necessary. More importantly, they would learn from each other. Months later, Ara and Daniel were married in a ceremony that combined human traditions. They stood before representatives of both species and made a commitment that went beyond politics or duty. They committed to understanding, to patience, to the possibility that different beings could find common ground. When it was over, shook both their hands. "When this started," she said to Ara, I thought you were either playing games or had lost your mind. I was wrong about both. What you have done has changed the course of history." "I did not set out to change history," Ara said. "I set out to find one person who could help me understand what it meant to be alive instead of just powerful." She looked at Daniel, and he looked back at her. In their eyes was the reflection of a new future, a future where the learned compassion, a future where humans were treated as true equals, a future where strength was measured not by weapons or territory, but by the willingness to choose peace and understanding. As the ceremony ended and celebrations began, both humans and realized something important. They had been afraid of each other for so long that they had forgotten something simple. They had forgotten that the things that made them different were the same things that could make them stronger together. And it had taken one proud alien queen and one shy human guard to show them the truth. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but facing those challenges together with understanding and respect seemed suddenly possible. And that possibility had started with a single moment, a single choice, a single connection between two beings who were supposed to be enemies but became something far greater.